Hey everybody, welcome to Mental Wellness Monday and our kickoff to our 3-day challenge. I'm so excited about this because I know all month long here in P3, Purpose, Passion, and Path, we have been talking about change and habits and really how do we anchor in new behaviors, right? So we've been talking about that all throughout the last few weeks. And so I want to make sure that we really hone in on these different skills and that we expand on them, because I know I had posted some steps to changing habits and anchoring new behaviors a couple weeks ago, and everybody had one or two that were kind of, okay, I got this, right? But nobody really had all of them. And so we're going to walk through it together this week. So we're going to walk through hand in hand this week each of those steps. So here is how it's going to look. So we're going to have videos, so live videos all week long. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm going to be live here at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, okay? And then you can catch the replays as well. And there will be just 2 questions to answer for each day that you'll want to post in the group, because you'll go into a special drawing that we'll talk about here in a little bit. So there will just be a couple questions for you to answer. And then on Thursday, I normally do Throwback Thursdays, right? At the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do a Throwback Thursday, and we're going to replay all of them in a watch party. So if you missed any of them, if you need a review of any of them, and then you'll still have Thursday night to post all the rest. So if you missed a day, you need to catch up. Again, there will be 6 questions total this week to answer. You'll have the opportunity to do that, and then on Friday, we will touch bases. We will do our drawing. So that is the plan, and I'm so excited about it. So as you're here, say hello and say I'm in. Tell me that you're excited about the challenge. And the only thing that I want you to think about for tonight, okay, the thing I want you to focus on tonight is, what habit do you want to change? So just pick one. I know we could pick a lot, but pick one thing that you want to work on this week. Because here's the thing, you guys. It is not an overnight process. It's not even a 3-day process to change a habit, right? It is a longer process. They always say 21 days to change a habit. That's really just to start it off, honestly. So 21 days is to get that into your routine, okay? And then it takes sometimes 3 times that long to truly make it become habitual. The kind of habit that is just automatic, that you do without really thinking about it, okay? So I want to tell you a story. So I've been excited to tell you this story. It's been something I've been working on for the last week or two. And I have been working on my fence. So that is what I've been doing the last couple weeks. And so I wanted to tell you the story of this because it's truly like my Karate Kid Daniel-san moment over here, right? Working on this fence. And so what happened is we bought our property, our dream property, out in the country, out in the woods in 2016, okay? And when we bought it, it was literally the forest. It was all woods. There was wildlife literally everywhere. There were herds of elk that would literally walk through our property, okay? Herds of elk that went right through our property, and we do have neighbors on one side, and they would always eat all the flowers and plants. It didn't even matter if it said that it wasn't good for deer and elk. They would just eat it. And they would constantly be in this battle with these elk. We also have a bobcat that likes to hunt right next to us. We have mountain lions. I heard coyotes night before last. We hear them a lot. We have a pack of wolves out here. I mean, literally, we have everything. My dog even was tracking a bear across the way a couple years ago. So I mean, we literally live in the woods. So one of the things that we needed to do in order to develop any of our land is we needed to have an arborist come out, and the arborist looked at our trees. Well, we're up the hill from the river at this point, about a city block or so, maybe 2. From the river, we have river access down at the bottom of the hill, but the river hundreds of years ago used to go right through our property. And so we have a ton of rocks, and we had a lot of dead trees because they were 300 years old and they weren't getting enough water anymore and they were dying off. And so we had to clear and log our property, and we decided to fence in an acre. Okay. And everyone thought we were kind of crazy because we were in the country and we didn't have a house. The very, very first thing we did was clear this acre and build a fence. But we have dogs and we have basset hounds. Remember the one I mentioned that was tracking the bear? That's what happens with hounds, right? They smell it, they go after it, they don't care. So we knew that we needed to do that. So the very first thing that we did on our property is we set boundaries. And there were other reasons why we wanted to do that. In the process of doing that, we figured out that the neighbors weren't really respecting our property lines and our boundaries. And so we really needed to set those. We actually had a neighbor that was quite a ways away and liked to practice his golf game. And he's across the street and over a little ways, and would try to shoot golf balls into everybody's property, and thinking it was just a vacant lot, right? So no respect for these boundaries, no respect for those. So there was a lot of reasons why we did that. But here's what happened. When we set those boundaries, when we put in that fence, it caused the neighbor, it also caused the animals to change their habits. The elk had to go a different direction. Our neighbors that we actually share a property line with loved us because they stopped eating all of their plants, right? The bobcat only hunts on the other side of the fence. The bunnies like to come through and come over, and the bobcat waits for them to go back. There was a lot of things that changed. So things shift and things changed, right? When we had those new boundaries. Well, we've had that fence for, 4 years now, right? And we are finishing up building our house through the pandemic. Always a fun thing. And so we're finishing up with that right now. And one of the things that I wanted is I wanted to put slats in our fence. So we had a chain link fence that you could see completely through. And I wanted to put slats in the fence so that it was even more of a boundary, but also more privacy. And because right on the other side of our fence where our neighbors are, they have really tall trees all the way along the fence. Well, what was happening is even though we had that boundary set, there were weeds in the 6 inches between the fence and the trees, because their trees are actually on the property line. We had to put our fence slightly in. There were weeds that were growing in between the two. And so what we had to do is we put these slats in, and that created shade in between the fence and the trees to kill off those weeds. Okay. So that's what we've been working on. Well, so interesting because we wanted to make this change. And so I researched and I found where you could buy the slats, and I tried to buy them in the usual places, right? I tried to go to like Home Depot, Lowe's, things like that. And I placed the order 3 times. They said they were in stock. So 3 times, and different stores, within a couple hours of us, placed the orders to be delivered, to be picked up, anything. And they all got canceled over and over and over again. So then I said, okay, well, I need to find somewhere else. So I found a place online that I'd never heard of. It was in Utah, and they were going to ship these slats to us. They actually liked them better, and they were actually less expensive, which was really nice. And so I got these slats in, and I decided, okay, I'm only going to do the side with the trees. right? I'm only going to do along the trees where the weeds are coming in. But once I got them and we put them in, so just to give you an idea, that was about 130 feet of fence where they had their trees. It's only about like half of that side of the property line. And so we put those in, and it was a learning curve, right? I had never done that before. I'd never set that boundary. I'd never put those in. And so we had to figure out how to do it. And I have to tell you guys, oh my gosh, my husband and I did put those in together. And they said at the place that we bought them from, oh, it'll be about 25 minutes, so about a half an hour per 10 feet. So with both of us working, it was like 7 hours of 2 people working nonstop, right? And we got them all in, but we were exhausted. And you have to squat. So you have to, like, you know, bend your knees down to the ground, click them in, stand up, put them in, sit down, back and forth all the time. I could not walk the next day. I still have allergies. I could not breathe the next day. But my thighs were so sore and my allergies were so bad from working in those weeds. It was not a fun task, but it was beautiful. And I absolutely loved the way that it looked. And so I said, you know what? It's worth it. I want to do the rest of that side of the fence. And I want to do the other side. We're on a corner. So we have 2 sides where there's other people's property, and one side is natural, okay? But that's the side the bobcat's on. And they are going to build at some point, right? So it's like, I want to do both sides. It's going to look beautiful, and we'll leave the sides open to the road because we're on the corner. And so that meant ordering another 320 feet of fence slats for a total of 450 feet. Now, I'm not quite done yet, but here's what I wanted to tell you guys about this. So this is creating shade, it's creating privacy. So when we build our back porch, it's not facing the other people's back of their house. It's creating these great things, but it is a lot of work. And so I've been doing a little bit every day since the rest of the fence slats came in. And it's not convenient. I have to fit it in. It's been 95 degrees here, which, if you're familiar with Washington, that's hot for us. And so I've been looking to see, okay, what part of the fence is in the shade? What can I do? The mosquitoes have been horrible. So we're talking allergies, sunburns, mosquito bites everywhere. When I had woken up that first day after putting the fence slats in, I was sore. I couldn't breathe. I itched everywhere. But like I said, it was worth it, right? And so I've been working in pockets. And sometimes I need support. We did figure out that I am apparently the fence master. I am faster at that. My mom came over and was helping a little bit one day, and I was faster than her and my husband working together. And I got so automatic with putting these fence slats in, and so quick, and it became more effortless, right? I wasn't sore anymore. I still have allergies. I still have bug bites. But I've been trying to be good about that and covering all up, and they still bite you through your clothes. I didn't actually know that until this last couple weeks. They still bite through clothes. And so it's a lot of work. Exactly. Boundaries are a lot of work. And so, I sometimes could work faster alone. And sometimes I said, you know what, can you just come and hand them to me? When my fingers were sore and I had to wear gloves, I said, can you just separate them out and hand them to me, and I'll put them in and I can work really fast. So sometimes I needed somebody right there with me the whole time, right at first, right? And then sometimes I just needed some moral support and guidance with me. And then sometimes I could work alone and I could go really fast once I got going. But it's been worth the results. And yes, it costs money, but again, it's so beautiful and it's so worth it. I'll have to post pictures for you guys of the first section we did. But I've been celebrating every section, right? And I've been starting small. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this section and then we'll see where we're at. And then we'll go to the next section, right? And I'll just do a few sections at a time, and I'm getting closer and closer and closer to that end goal. And you'll see the results along the way. So even when I have to stop because the bug bites are driving me nuts, and say, you know what, I'm going to do more tomorrow. The amazing thing is that making this change, it's a physical exterior change, right, on our property, has really been reminding me a lot of what we've all been talking about with changing habits. So whether it's internal or external, making changes are hard. They're costly sometimes. Sometimes you can't do it alone. You have to pace yourself, and it's painful at first, but it gets easier and easier and more automatic, and you start seeing the results. You don't always see the results right at first, but you do. You get there, right? You see the results. And so it was reminding me of some of the other things, the other kinds of habits or kinds of changes that some of my clients have been making. And so I wanted to give you guys a few examples, because today I want you to decide what change you are going to make. And so a few of my clients, just to give you some examples, one has really been working on her organization. She had a lot of clutter and a lot of stuff, and she's really been working through systematically. We came up with a plan. I helped walk her through, let's do one little piece at a time, one drawer at a time, right? One room at a time. And really go through and figure out, what you want to keep and get it organized and find a way to keep it that way. Well, here's what we had to do in order for this to stick, because it's not like she hasn't tried to get organized in the past, right? She's been trying to get organized for years and saying she was going to do it, but she always got overwhelmed and shut down and stopped. And part of it was because she didn't realize where this need for stuff came from. And so, for example, if you had a move, or maybe your parents got divorced like mine did when you were younger, and you had some upheaval in your life, and maybe you had to get rid of some things, or someone got rid of them for you that were important to you, you might feel a need to hold on to things, right? To have that form of control because you had lost that at some point in your life. So that's one example. Another example is another client who's really been working on boundaries with her family. And again, these things, you guys, could go back decades, truly. I mean, we're talking like 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on where you're at in your life. She is somebody who just gave and gave and gave, and was always expected to do for other people. And it was kind of unfair, even as a child. And, all the way back to her first memories were of how she was the one that was expected to sacrifice. And still to this day, they lean on her and expect her to give with nothing in return. And so she's been working really hard on setting these boundaries with them and being very strict in her boundaries because they don't respect them, right? And so sometimes you have to build those walls, you have to build those fences, and you have to maybe sometimes, even if you built them, put a little bit more reinforcement in there to get them to stick, right? And then another client that I was thinking of was someone who has been very weight sensitive and it really struggled for many years because growing up, she received a lot of criticism of her weight and her body, and was constantly being weighed by her mother and criticized if she barely changed weight, anything like that. And so then going into high school and going into college, she got extremely unhealthy. She was very much thin and looking exactly like she had been told that she was supposed to, but she was extremely unhealthy, and it was not good for her. And to the point where she was really causing herself physical harm. And so now she's really working on being healthy regardless of the scale, and not having that be her benchmark, but having it be her feelings of her body really being happy and being in tune and being healthy and having healthy habits, right? So for some people it comes early, and for some people it comes a lot later in life. Maybe it's after you have kids, or maybe it's after a bad relationship. So really can come from a lot of places. But what I found is that knowing where something came from and really being aware of the habit itself and what feeds into the habit is really helpful in making real and lasting long-term change. Okay, so when we go through these 6 steps that we're going to go through to helping you change your behaviors and anchor in some new behaviors, right? We're going to change the maybe not so healthy ones, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is, and replace them. You have to replace them with something, right? So replace them with something a little more healthy, right? And something that's going to benefit you more and not be of a detriment to you. What we're going to do is we are going to break it down so that you know what you're working with. Okay, so you know what you're working with. Because again, we're not going to change the habit in 3 days, but we're going to set you up for success in changing the habit in those 3 days. So we really want to set you up so that you can be successful throughout the rest of the summer in the daily steps that we're going to lay out, okay? Because you're going to lay out some steps that you can go through to change these habits throughout the rest of the summer. Now, it is almost the end of July, right? We're working through the end of July. And so technically, summer is actually all the way until mid to late September. But we say 21 days, right? So work through August on this habit and really focus on it before you move on to the next. Because that's the other thing that I found is that people really try to focus on too many things at once. If you try to change too much at once, then you ultimately are going to fail, because again, you're going to get overwhelmed and it's too much of a shift in your routine, too much of a shift in your daily life. And when you focus on one habit and you really narrow that down and you are successful at it, guess what happens? It will influence other areas of your life. And so it will flow easier, right? More easily into the next habit. And so here's what we're going to do. We are going to, again, just focus on a couple things each day, okay? Just a couple, okay, for the next few days. And so it's going to be relatively easy when we break it down. And I'm going to go through each step more in depth. So we're going to really decide today, what is the habit you want to change? And so go ahead and let me know here in the comments which one you want to change. Because then for each day, the next 3 days, again, I'm going to be live here at noon Pacific. Okay, that's my goal. I will post if anything comes up. But that is the goal, is noon Pacific, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, to walk through each step. I will also be posting each step, so don't worry about that. You'll get a visual post of that. But I'll be walking you through each of those steps, and we'll just do 1 or 2 at a time. And then Thursday evening, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, I'm going to do a watch party. So I'll do our Throwback Thursday, and we'll watch all the videos together, so that if you missed one, I'll put them back to back on the replay and you can go through them again. And then we will do a recap on Friday, and I'm going to have a worksheet with all the steps on it. So here's the deal. If you want the worksheet, I want you to comment below me and your habit. Okay? If you comment me and your habit, I will send you the link to the worksheet that's going to have all the steps on it, so you can fill all of those out. And everyone who participates in all of the posts, so there's going to be a total of 6 questions. If over this week, right, until Friday, you go ahead and answer all of the questions, and you're not going to have to go super in depth in the group, but you can share as much as you would like. And you can say, yep, I did this one. Yep, I figured this out. No, I'm having a challenge with this. I need a little support around that. let me know as you're working through them. And I'm going to do a drawing on Friday for some fun things. So I have some options of a free 1-hour coaching call, also a download of a guided hypnotherapy to help you through the process, just some fun things that I think are going to help. I also have a book that I can give away. So we're going to have some fun things, but we need to see who's going to participate, right? So make sure, again, if you want the worksheet, if you're going to participate, put me, do a little hands up emoji, and make sure you say, this is the habit I want to work on. So if it's a health habit, if it's a weight habit, if it's a boundary habit, if it's getting organized, it could literally, you guys, it could be anything. It could be one of those trigger habits. We talked about, I think that was last week, the trigger habits of, you know what, I snap at my family. Like that could be a habit that you want to break. We'll really dive in and we'll look at it. So again, I'm so excited to kick off this challenge this week. I just thought, you know what, with everybody not having it all down with the 6 steps, everybody was like, well, maybe number 1, or I've got number 5, but I don't know about 2 and 6. I really wanted to give you all the opportunity to work through this, right? To work through it together, to end off this month and to start a new month strong, so that you really know what you want to change and you can start the daily work to do it. Once we have the groundwork laid, we've got you set up for success, you can actually take those steps to make it happen. So I'm really excited to support you all in that. And I mentioned when we started this month out that the reason why I wanted to really focus on changing habits this month is that in the Clarity Collective, we had that be our theme this month. That's my group hypnotherapy program. And every month we have a theme, and this month was changing habits. And so it really has been a lot of fun to work through this with everybody. Some of you are in that program. Some of you have been in the Emotional Empowerment Project. I do talk a lot about boundaries and morning and evening routines and some habit change and relationships and things in that. So if you've been in there, this is going to supplement that. This is going to support you. And if you haven't, this might be new to you. So I'm really excited to work with you. Some of you are new into the group, so welcome. And I'm really excited for you to get to know you a little bit better this week and to help support you through that. So you all, thank you so much for joining me. And tomorrow we're going to kick off our 3-day challenge. So again, if you want that worksheet, let me know. Let me know which habit you are planning on changing. And I will be back here with you all tomorrow at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. There will be replays available, so don't worry. But try to hop on live if you can. And